Good morning, everyone. Catherine Cooke, founder of The Engine and leading business advisor. And we are live this morning talking about a topic that has been around a while, next generation leadership in a family business. Very topical, given this is a natural succession for many family businesses. I'm joined this morning with Kirit, partner from Walker Wayland Auckland, and our clients, brother and sister, Cora and Chris Lawton, directors from Steelpac Construction Group Limited. Good morning, all.
Morning.
Good morning, Catherine.
I'm really excited to be having this chat today. In fact, this chat started with a conversation over the fence in Te Kofita when you were looking for external business assistance, and another business I was providing advisory services to, Cambridge Home, to have a chat with Catherine. She'll be perfect for your business, and a Zoom call about where you were at and what I could do started a mammoth engagement of services and positive change for the business. Let's start with you, Cora. What does Steelpac Construction Group Limited do?
So our business was established over 35 years ago, and we do construction mainly for agricultural and commercial projects throughout New Zealand. And our father had recently handed the company over to his 3 children. And we, yeah, I think that's sort of anything else.
It's hard to encapsulate 35 years into a 30-second pitch, but I think you covered off that really nicely. So, Cora, you've taken over the reins as one of the directors of this 35-year-old business, and you've got 30 plus people, or I should say plus because we're growing, and it's quite a legacy. So, reflecting from when I met you a year ago, online to now, how do you summarise the last year in a few sentences for you?
So I was exhausted. I was at breaking point and kind of felt like the business had no direction, and now it has direction. I know where the company is going, and I know where I'm going in the company as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Chris, what about you? What feelings do you have back then when we met online to now?
Back then it was more like I was just really going to work. We're already sort of falling apart in pieces. So, and then of course with the help of Catherine and bringing everything in and stuff like that, it's given us all a place within the business. We've all got positions, and we all know where to go and what to do. Yeah,
you're talking about structure, and just for the viewers that are watching this is a very stable business, and when they talk about burnout and falling apart, they're really talking about the lack of structure that they had in taking over the business, not that there was no foundation. The foundation is very solid. And Kirit, obviously I'm keeping you waiting in the wings, and people are probably wondering why you're here, but you were quite a crucial part of my engagement to ensure that they had the right financial or fiscal management accountancy. So you and I both see and work with many families for succession transition. Many of these successions are always without a plan, but an assumption a family member or members will carry on. What conversations do you have with businesses when family are taking over, Kirit?
Lots, to be honest, Catherine, and there is lots in there when a family actually takes over from the next generation. It's not only just about financial, but it's also all about the processes, the systems, the structures, the whole end-to-end solution that the business offers. Also internal management, internal staff management, to external client management and customer experiences and the expectations and the delivery is a big wide range of things that you end up talking to family businesses as they succeed through. And more importantly, I think it's all about the people. The people are very important, and it's all about making sure that the succession does actually go through a smooth transition, that the family, the next generation coming up is fully appreciative of the engagement that they're going to have in the business, the appreciation of the challenges that they would have, and then making sure that there is the financial backup to make sure that it all happens, because how mum and dad used to run the business may not be the same way that the children may want to run the business. So it's all about knowing how to best put that together. So yeah, lots of conversations in all of those areas.
Absolutely, and you and I have been talking quite a bit around business continuity planning, and succession planning should include that, because obviously as we've got aging parents, and as we know, it doesn't matter what age you are right now, anything can happen in terms of stress and that, but just building that, that plan and putting in place that capability training is just so crucial to the success of the next generation. So we know that that doesn't happen. We know that there's not a lot of thought process in that, but it really does set people up for, obviously a better success. And, don't want to have people like Cora stressed out, burnt out, and Chris sort of thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next, and feeling like, he's not doing justice. So Cora, if I come back to you, and thank you for all of that, Kirit. I mean, all of that is just, what we know to be true. So Cora, what has been the steepest learning curve for you in taking over the reins?
So this is previous to you coming in, or?
Yes. So, I mean, obviously you could talk about both, really. You could talk about when you took over the reins of the director to meeting me. I mean, obviously, and now what you've learned from that point. So obviously, when you took over as director, you probably didn't fully understand your directorship duties. You knew you owned a company, but in terms of the extent of that, which you probably would be, more in tune with now. So just talk about
I had an understanding of being a director, but not to the extent that I've learned through both you and Kirit. I guess back then, sorry, the dogs are barking in the background.
Right. We want this to be natural.
So back then I had tried in the beginning, because I knew that us taking over the company was going to be a huge step, and I actually wanted guidance like you and Kirit in the company back then, but I got pushed back on it. And then it kind of just felt like everything was put on my shoulders. And yeah, it was hard. It was very hard. But then getting you and Kirit in, I've just learned so much. Yeah. And we didn't even have the basic structure in the company. Nobody had direction, including the directors who worked in the company, like, Chris and myself. Nobody knew what they were actually doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like how you talk about the structure. I mean, you've also, we've put in place layers of governance and foundation pillars and really worked on that and the compliance piece, because I mean, obviously directorship duty and being in a high risk business like yourself, that compliance piece is so important, right?
Yes, especially in the construction. And I was also struggling with that, and that's something you've helped us with, is like our health and safety. And not only that, it's just your human resources. We employ so many staff, and it's so important that you
can just spend all your days dealing with just that in itself. So
exactly.
Yeah. Chris, what about you? What were you doing in the company before you took the role of operations manager, and what has been the biggest learnings for you going from being on the tools to operations manager?
So as you said, I was on the tools, so I was out contracting for the old company. So I basically was contracting, so my own little business, and it was just a one-man crew, me. So becoming and then getting the company, I think it was just a hard learning curve with being a director. What do I do? I've never been in that position. And the structure within the company was never there. So there was no one steering the ship or where it went, or, as you say, the helm. And yeah, and when you came in, we put all that stuff into place. It was good, and it helped us out quite a bit.
And look, it's quite common, I see, in one-man band operators. I mean, at the end of the day, you are still directors of your own business, whether you're in the company's office or acting as a sole trader. You still have obligations, and it's really interesting how people are not fully aware and conversant around that. So it's been a really steep learning curve, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic in embracing it. So just when I met you, you were 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Cora, you were nearly burnt out, which is what you talked about before, and you were managing so much. Just for the viewers, I absolutely get excited when I talk about these guys, because a few months back I was in a cafe and I saw one of your clients, and he stopped me and he said he'd noticed an incredible and positive change in the business. And that just made me, I had goosebumps, and I felt so proud of you. And I said to him, I'm only as good as my star pupils. And realistically, that comes back to you guys. I can, and Kirit can give you all the advice in the world, but you have to own it and be accountable and implement it with our support, obviously. So, you know, you've both worked so hard. What are some of the implementation you've made having engaged the advisory services? Chris, what are you doing in the operations manager role that you've got as advice from me that you are now implementing?
Yeah, so basically we started right back to scratch. So we got job descriptions for every staff member on site, put them into their right categories. Then we, with the right job descriptions, we started off doing, then we did our KPIs, and we also looked hard into the accountability of health and safety. Sorted that out. Was quite, well, there wasn't very much within our company. So we stepped that up quite a bit. Yeah, it was basically, we stripped the company straight back down to basics and started the structure again, because it was never in place. There was no structure there in place.
Absolutely. And the visibility is really important too. Like now you've got full visibility on sites through reporting and your rotating yourself through the sites fortnightly and also going one-to-one. Cora, if I come back to you, your role in the business was formalised as finance manager, managing funds of a very moving part business, different sites, external challenges, staff shortages, supply increases. How have you found the challenges given you were really tired, and what have you had to implement?
So I was exhausted because I was doing so much, and because I was doing so much, we didn't have the detail that was required in finances, if that makes sense. So we were actually not even kind of tracking where money was going. It was, and now through working with Kirit, we're still not there. There's still quite a bit of work to do, but it is a lot more visible than what it was previously. Yeah.
And you're able to sleep better at night, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So, Kirit, if I can come back to you, there's certainly advantages and disadvantages of a next generation takeover in a family business. An advantage is knowing the business, having grown up in it, but a disadvantage is the lack of skill to run a family business and also conflict. What advice do you offer to mitigate disadvantages from a financial point of view?
From a financial point of view, we actually talk to both the generations and make sure that their expectations when going into the arrangement is very clear from the onset, and having also to make sure that the next generation coming up have got the right skill sets to run the business. So it's not only about just the finances, but making sure that the different skill sets required to run the business, either they've got it or they've got experts around them to have it along. One example I would give for a client that I had some years ago, the dad actually said to the son that I don't believe that you'll get the right skill set by being employed within the business. I would want you to go out and work for another business, a competitor of mine, for the next 3 years. And it's not about me wanting to know what they do, but it's all about me wanting you to actually learn everything in the business. So he started off right from the bottom where he was sweeping the warehouse and worked himself all the way up to where now he's come back into the family business, and he has finally gained the reins of the CEO of the business. So it is a process, and that whole financial impact of that move for the mum and dad, and then for the age, for the next generation down, all gets put into all into perspective. And I just keep emphasizing to everyone that this is not something that you can just turn on a switch and it will happen. It is a process, and that process needs to be followed through, and you got to have your budgets, your cash flows, your job costing models, all of those things all in a line. And you got to make sure that you have kept all of those things in sight while you're doing this thing, because it is a process.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting what you're saying. Like, I always say to people, and especially business owners now, you only know what you know inside the four walls of your business. So you've got to find a way to step out or bring resources in to get that additional learning, because you just don't get that when you're in the trenches. So look, Cora, coming back to you, the business has learnt that it needed to resource up. What other services has your business acquired outside of advisory from the engine, and how has that helped your business? I mean, your dad is from the old school of running a business, and you guys knew that you needed to change. So what other things have you established in the business through working with the engine?
So like we've got you, although you're still in, so you're helping with our health and safety and our HR, and also getting someone in to help with administration. So that's like entering invoices and things like that into the system, because I was doing all of that too, and that was very time consuming. I think off the top of my head, that's yeah, so my sister's also stepped up on board, and she does like special projects things. So it's kind of like organizing uniforms and sign writing for vehicles and just, yeah, small things like that. Yeah.
The steepest learning really though has been around getting that governance piece in place, right? And just actually understanding what that directorship responsibility is, and having regular board meetings that are structured. So that's been quite steep and sort of initiated conversations that needed to happen at that high level, right?
Yes. So we were kind of doing that, but it was very ad hoc. There was no like routine to it, whereas now there is, and everything's minuted, everything's documented, and it never really was before.
Absolutely. But Cora, I want to take us back to when we first engaged, and I suggested to do a discovery month for the business, and we engaged as part of that discovery month in an employee survey. What was the biggest revelation for you from the survey? Because I know it had quite an impact for you.
Just one of the staff members' comments was that if I'm not family, I'm not going to go anywhere in this company.
And how did that make you feel?
A bit disheartened, really, because I'm not that kind of person. You know, I believe that you reward people for their hard work and hard efforts, you know, and yeah, I'm not into favoritism or anything like that at all.
And we've talked about this quite regularly, about having a level playing field for all, and that's been, you know, quite instrumental, being a family business, ensuring that family understand that it's a level playing field for everybody, and it's based around merit and everything else that goes with it. And we've had full participation with the staff while we've been going through this process. That I've been involved in obviously having a voice at the table and establishment around values and being involved in terms of the process. So Chris, coming back to you, we talked about before about, you know, you've got sites all around New Zealand, and for the viewers, Chris is actually sitting in Christchurch today, and Cora's in Auckland, so you guys are, you know, opposite islands as well. How do you get visibility, Chris, around all the sites? Like, what have you implemented since you became operations manager last November?
So I implemented rotational visits for every site. So I spend 3 or 4 days up in Auckland every fortnight, and then the other fortnight I'll spend a couple of days in Wellington, and keep rotating that. And I also do one-on-ones with every site supervisor weekly that I don't visit. Yeah, and we do a weekly, it's like a weekly form that all the site supervisors fill out every week. I get handed it on a Thursday, and I go review it, and we send out, well, basically review it, and that gets my end of the month sort of report to hand to directors.
Absolutely, and it gives you visibility and an opportunity to deal with things in real time, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And the other important thing is just using some very basic tools, like we've got WhatsApp groups for each of the sites, and just really having that transparent communication channel where, you know, it tags in the people that need to know about things, but everyone has the visibility that needs to have the visibility about what's happening. So it's still keeping you waiting there. I'm sorry that, right, you know, you're kind of an observer there, but hopefully we're saying all the things that you know about. But
very much so.
Kirit, you and I have been working with the business over the last 90 days around a new structure change. And, you know, I always talk about having the right leader at the helm and having a ship that is actually moving in the direction. And, you know, you just talked about, you know, people having to go outside of the business to learn to come back in. And what we've decided, well, not we've decided, the company have decided with our various advances to appoint a new CEO who starts mid-June. So, Kirit, what are some of the underlying benefits to bringing in someone to lead the business outside of the family structure?
Yes, and this decision over here is a big one for the company because they've never had an outsider come in and technically run the company. So for them, it would give them an opportunity to once again learn from the CEO's skill sets that they have acquired over working with other companies in their lifetime, and bring that to the table and complement the existing skill sets that the existing directors have. Also creates that level of independence and that governance that is required at that management level. So it's not about, as what Cora said, favoritism or anything like that. It's very much an independent assessment, an independent way of making sure that the business gets to the next level. There's growth in the business, there's a good culture in the business, there's good communication in the business. All of those factors which one cannot really bring to the table by being part of the family business. The objective of the CEO would be to bring that on and create that end goal, which is for everyone, and lead them through the path to achieving that end goal. And I think that would be super important in this next phase as they grow, because the company has grown quite a bit over the last few months and in the last couple of years, and there will be a lot of things that will be coming across on the table that they may not have been exposed to in the past. And the idea is that if we get a CEO, it gives Chris and Cora and Jen the opportunity as a family to assess things and see how things actually work out for them in different directions. So it takes them off the tools once again and gets them more into knowing more about the business and having bigger mandates for the CEO to run the business. So all in all, it just creates a lot more momentum and a lot more structure to what needs to be achieved.
And there's quite a lot of work that goes into it in terms of actually understanding what skill set we're looking for in a CEO. And so whilst you have the standard skill sets that a CEO would have, having known that we've implemented a lot of work around HR and health and safety, we've really looked at the CEO having a skill set around growth and also around numbers. And that's been quite important in the search because, we've touched on marketing, but, we haven't been able to do everything. And there's no point going full noise and developing marketing when you've still been developing and embedding that structure of foundational pillars. So if I come back to building capability within a business, just something I'm so passionate about, and I'm also relentless in ensuring family businesses operate with good governance. And I think Chris and Cora, you have first-hand knowledge about how relentless I am about governance. And, obviously it strengthens emotional bonds and it builds core competencies in the business and ensures business success, not just for the business, but for the family as well. Good governance for me should separate family issues, from business decisions. There's many issues that can arise, such as an overlap of family members in employment and so on and so on. Can I just get a statement, starting with you, Kirit, just a quick statement around the benefit of good governance for a family business? Just one statement from you, Kirit, and then I'll move to you, Cora, and then to you, Chris.
Succession. That to me is the golden word when it does come to that, because governance does actually create good succession, and it's not for just the company, but for the individual families of the shareholders.
Absolutely. Cora, what about you? What's a statement from you about the benefit of good governance with your family business?
She's on mute.
You're on mute, Cora.
Sorry, the dogs keep barking. Understanding your role as a director versus being part of the family. Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes also in terms of the understanding part is knowing what is governance and what is operational, what you have at the board table and what you don't, and just keeping that conversation. And when you've got governance at the table and not operation, then you can allow the people that do the operation to go about doing their job. That's kind of a lot of what we've worked through, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, what about you? What's a statement that's benefited you personally with governance?
It's pretty much the same. It's the split between everything, directorship, being in the operations management, and also family. So it's splitting it all into the different sections of where it should be, and what's and what to talk about within family, directorship, and then back to my job as well.
It's really having that transparency and clarity around what people's roles are, and allowing them to do that. So look, gosh, we've actually moved through this quite quickly. I had quite a lot to cover up, and I thought this might end up being an hour, but you guys have done so well. Going back to being star pupils again, that probably includes you too, Kirit.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything for me is a compliment. So in terms of closing remarks, Chris and Cora, if I could just have starting with you, Chris, and not just thinking about me as your business advisor, just thinking in general about having that business advice, what are some top tips that you've like, sort of, helped you in terms of having a business advisor in your family business?
Top tip is basically everything. It's hard because it's good. It's split. Like I said, when we first came into it, the family was arguing, and we're not arguing. We're all getting communications open, and we're all talking, because we've all realised that we've just got to keep business separate from family, and that's what every family business should be. Is you have to keep it separate, or else it's always ending up in arguments.
Absolutely, and that's actually quite big for you to say that, because most people don't even talk about that. Like, most people go, I don't want people to know, but it's a reality. It happens. It doesn't just happen in your business. It happens in a lot of businesses, is the degree of conflict. And you can't resolve conflict unless you have someone external to be able to do that, and also to find out, what does everybody want out of this? So that's what we did at the beginning. What does everybody want? And what you wanted, and what the employee wanted, and what the client wanted was success. So everybody wanted success, and what did that look like for each person? So I'm glad that you were able to feel comfortable to say that, because a lot of people don't. They're like so worried about what people think. But at the end of the day, you're only addressing the elephant in the room of what is obvious with many, many companies. So Cora, what about you? What's some, obviously you've been able to sleep better at night. I remember when we first started, you and I seemed to spend every hour of every day just about on the phone talking about employment problems and all that. And I was actually starting to think, oh my gosh, how much time have I got to give to this in an advisory capacity? So, those conversations have kind of really reduced, because we've now got that structure in place, which people understand. So what has been the benefit for you having a business advisor in a family business?
There's quite a few. I'll try and keep it as quick as I can. But one is like knowing when to wear which cap. So it's when I'm the family member, when I'm the director, or whether I'm the financial manager. It's understanding those 3 different roles that I have within this one company. And also just, people, one thing which I really sort of which was highlighted to me is, I know back in the beginning, everyone was like, oh, we don't have the money to get an advice. We can't afford it. We need the money in the company. The thing is, we've gone out, we've actually got the professionals in, they have helped immensely, and our company is now turning over a decent profit, So it's that fear of people thinking, oh, it's going to cost me money and I'm not going to make money. Yeah, it costs you money, but your business sees the benefits of you spending that money, because you're getting the right people in the right positions and all of that, and the right advice within your company, which we never get before.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because people, how do you measure that return on investment of actually engaging external services? And it gets a lot of people who love the advice that we give and love the work that we do, but it is really up to them to implement it. And when they don't implement it, then the question is, why is it not the right person, or they're not fully engaged in their business? More often than not, I find it's because they're not fully engaged and they actually don't even want to be there themselves. And so it's really important that there's passion for what you're doing and also confidence around where you're going. Kirit, you know, you and I both work in that advisory space. I mean, obviously you've got your strengths and I've got my strengths, but we complement each other, and, you know, we come together to help businesses like Steelpac Construction Group Limited. What is your thought process when you're talking to someone around getting business advice or external resources in their business?
Yeah, I actually echo what Cora said, and getting people's mentality in that right direction, that it is an investment. And when you do make that investment, you end up being a lot more better off than what you were before the investment. So when people actually just look at it as a cost, it's a bit like advertising. If you don't do advertising and you think it's a cost, the chances that you're going backwards is going to be pretty high. So you got to look at everything that you spend money on in business, whether it's insurance, advertising, business advisory, consulting, accounting fees, legal fees, etc. It is an investment to get you to the next level, and you would end up making a lot more than what you are making otherwise. So it's quite important to actually not just see it in isolation, but to look at the big picture.
I like how you said not see it in isolation, because it is actually a journey. It's a bit like marketing, like you said, you know, people go and advertise on SEO and they want an instant result in a month. It's not going to happen in a month. You've got to actually be on that journey. And I just want to say, you know, Steelpac Construction Group Limited have really done the hard yards. And, you know, that's through, you know, Cora and Chris stepping up to the platform and the leadership roles that you're in, and really being on that journey. And, you know, that return on investment, you're now seeing it. You've now got more comfort and confidence around things. You can articulate that back out to the staff. The staff now have clarity around what's expected. And, you know, I'm just so excited about where this company is going. And you're just propelling it to, you know, greater heights. And I say to people, no change equals no change. Zero effort equals zero outcome. So the effort that you're putting in, 150% effort, because that's what it has been, is giving you that on the other side. So really excited to get the CEO on board and really embed that in. I still feel that there's so much still to be explored on next level generation leadership in a family business on governance. Would love to get you guys back in here with Andrew. Maybe we could talk about the learning curve that you've had to go through in terms of just that whole, you know, director, shareholders agreement and all that kind of stuff, board meetings, that whole learning thing. So really appreciate your time today, and thank you for being so transparent and honest and real. And if anyone got any agricultural commercial work that they'd like to get priced up, these guys have been in business for 35 plus years, and they've got a really good suite of clients that they work with, but they'd always be happy to quote. So thank you guys, have an awesome day, and hopefully we can get you back on at another point.
Right, thanks, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine. Thanks,
All
Chris.
right.
Thanks, Cora.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Have an awesome day. All right, take care, guys.
Okay.